The reading for today is by physicist David Bohm. I believe in the absolute oneness of God and therefore humanity. What though we have many bodies? We have but one soul. The rays of sun are many through refraction, but they have the same source. I cannot therefore detach myself from the wickedest soul, nor may I have denied identity with the most virtuous. Even if 100 people were able to perceive the deepest stratum of reality and tap into the collective mind, the ego would vanish for these people, and that would form a single consciousness, just as the parts of a highly integrated person are integrated as one.
Welcome to those of you who may have just arrived in the sanctuary and did not hear that our theme for the month of March is Oneness, Seeking the Common Good, and that my talk title is, surprisingly, Oneness. Now, we begin to seek the common good by understanding the principle of oneness. Oneness is defined as the state of being unified, of being whole, though comprised of two or more parts. It is the state of being joined as one thing and no longer separate. Its synonyms include wholeness, integrity, unified, and completeness. Now, the principle of oneness is truly the foundation of our teaching, the philosophy of the science of mind, faith, and way of life. We talk about it here all of the time. One power, one presence, one life, one mind, one love. Oneness, to me, seems on the surface to be kind of a simple idea, a simple concept. But the question that really arises within me is it actually so easy to really comprehend? Is it actually so easy to embody? Is it actually so easy to radically practice it in our everyday lives? Now, I think for most of us, it's probably pretty easy to comprehend it as an intellectual concept. But that's not the way to really know oneness. That's not the way to really embody it, and that certainly isn't the way to really be able to radically practice it in our everyday lives. In order to really know oneness, we have to go beyond our mind. We have to go beyond our intellect. We have to go beyond our human senses. We have to be willing to let go of our past and to let go of our judgment, to let go of our need to be right, and to let go of any sense that we might have that we are any more special than anyone else. Roger Gabriel of the Chopra Center says, imagine that you are the whole universe. You live in total joy and bliss. Imagine that there is no past or future, only now. Imagine that there is no space or time, just an unbounded eternity. Imagine peace, harmony, and unconditional love. Imagine no fear and equality in all things. This is oneness. The challenge, however, is that it's not enough to simply imagine. To really know oneness, we have to have a direct experience of it. Now, my guess is that most of us sitting here today have had a random or maybe a number of random, unexpected glimpses of oneness in our lives. Roger Gabriel says, perhaps you were watching a beautiful sunset and had that moment when you felt like you merged with the whole of creation, or saw your newborn child for the very first time and fell in love with the whole world. We even have expressions for these glimpses. We say, it took my breath away, or time stood still. This is oneness. We become one with the totality of experience. When we return from the moment of oneness, we find it impossible to properly express it. It just was. There are no words to describe it. Now, this makes it very hard to be able to really talk about those moments, to be able to express those moments to someone else, but it doesn't make them any less real or less important in our lives. As I sat with this idea of a principle of oneness over the week, it became very clear to me that the very first place that we have to start is with the spiritual truth that is held by faith traditions around the world. And that truth is that God is. That God is, and that God is all that there is. Throughout the entire universe, there exists an all-encompassing, all-loving flow of energy that unites everything and everyone. Some traditions speak of oneness based upon a common origin. For example, Christianity would say that we all come from God, that we are all children of God. We would say that God is first cause, that everything was created by God out of God's stuff, that everything is a divine emanation of the one. In many Eastern traditions, they speak about this idea of oneness based more on a common nature or a common beingness. So, for example, Buddhism speaks of the interdependence of all things. Zen invites us to move beyond individuality, to drop the body and the mind in order to see and to live within the big mind. Taoism also invites us to let go of or to move beyond any attachments that we might have so that we can live in harmony with the Tao. Vedanta teaches that the whole universe is only pure consciousness. Therefore, it is all of the same substance and all of the same nature, and any idea of a separation is just really mistaken perception on our part. Pre-Christian shamanic cultures believe that we are all part of an intricate and sacred web of life, that we are all one with each other and that we are all one with the earth, that there is absolutely no separation between us and the natural world. We are deeply embedded within it. Even quantum physics gets in on the act. It reveals a oneness, a single, universal, unified field of intelligence, an ocean of existence at the basis of everything. It is a field which unites and underlies and connects everything to everything else, a field which unites all of the forces of nature, it unites all of the particles of nature, it unites all of the different waves of a single ocean of existence, all in this one unified field. While oneness is the truth, it is also true that there are a great multiplicity of manifestations within the one. That each manifestation is an individualized expression, unique, and different from all of the rest. I mean, even if you just look at human beings by themselves, we all have different bodies and different religions and different cultures and different languages and different political affiliations and different ways of being on the planet, right? Different ways of being in the world. We have these different bodies that appear to get in the way of our being able to really live and experience this deep and abiding oneness that we have with each other. While it is legitimate to talk about a world of diversity, I mean, we see it everywhere we look, we experience it within every experience that we have, it is not the spiritual truth. Albert Einstein says, "A person experiences life as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical illusion of consciousness. Our task must be to free ourselves from this self-imposed prison and through compassion to find the reality of oneness." So who we are is pure consciousness or oneness, expressing itself in different forms at different times in our evolution. All of these differences appear to separate us. But the truth is that divinity is at the center of every being. And through that golden thread, we are all connected one to another. Oneness is where we all exist. Put in simple terms, we share the same spiritual origin. We are all made of the same stuff. We share the same ecosystem. And we are interconnected through a quantum field that really spans the entire universe and beyond. We are in relationship with all of it because we are what it is and it is what we are. Can never be separated. Now, the Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, he describes this interconnectedness, this oneness, as a term he coined, interbeing. Interbeing. And in his book, Peace in Every Step, he describes it like this. If you were a poet, you would see that there is a cloud floating on this sheet of paper. Without the cloud, there would be no rain. Without the rain, there would be no trees. Without the trees, there would be no paper. The cloud is essential for the paper to exist. If the cloud is not here, the paper is not here. So we can say that the cloud and the paper are interbeing. And if you took the time to look even a little bit deeper, you would see the sunshine. Without the sunshine, the forests would not grow. In fact, really nothing would grow. So we could say that the sunshine is also within the paper. And if you looked even a little bit closer, you would see the logger who cut down the tree and took it to the mill. And you would see wheat, because the logger's got to eat. And if you took the time to look even a little bit deeper, you would see even more. We would see ourselves, we would see the earth, we would see the soil, we would see the minerals, we would see the logger's family. To be is to interbe. You cannot just be by yourself alone. You have to interbe with everything else. With everything else, with everyone else. This is to interbe. This is oneness. Okay, I didn't know if I was going to or not, but I guess I have to out myself here. Maybe for a little levity, maybe for just to out myself. So this is what it's like, sitting at home and being with these topics. And, some things come up for you and you're like, what? Seriously? So what kept coming up for me as I was sitting with this idea of everything being interconnected was that old song that I learned really as a very young kid. And well, maybe you'll see why it's interconnected, so I'll just give you a little bit of it, I knew an old lady who swallowed a dog. Oh, what a hog to swallow the dog. She swallowed the dog to catch the cat. She swallowed the cat to catch the bird. She swallowed the bird to catch the spider that wiggled and tickled and jiggled inside her. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly, but I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. I mean, interconnected or what? And the talent show has already begun. But really, think about it. We can do the same thing with everything that we were to pick up, everything that we can see, everything in form, whether we call it a human being, a tree, a dog, a rock, a piece of paper, has at its core a hologram of the entire universe. Everything has at its core a hologram of the divine itself. Each individualized expression is really simply a particular arrangement of the only substance that there is. Oneness is an all-encompassing, total, non-separable reality of everything. Everything is linked to everything else. We are one. We have always been one. We will always be one until we think that we're not. Herein lies the challenge. We are one, but we think that we are separate. We have forgotten our oneness. And as a result of forgetting, we create an illusionary world of duality, which leads to suffering. Now, the Course in Miracles would say that the only thing that needs to be healed is our belief in separation. All disagreements, conflict, and war are due to our mistaken belief that we are separate from one another. I invite you to just, for a moment, think about the world today, or actually you could think about any moment in history, and think about it like a human body, in which each and every single one of the cells has decided independently of each other to work on their own, as though they weren't part of a whole. Each cell consuming as many nutrients and taking up as much energy as it possibly can, perhaps even more than it actually needs. It would not take very long before parts of the body would begin to become sick. And they then would damage the health of the whole body, including those greedy cells. Now, this is just as true about the universe. When we live as though we are separate from each other, separate from God, or separate from life itself, something is going to suffer. Relationships are going to be in conflict, and countries and communities are going to be at war. When we act and live our lives as though we are an isolated individual, we act out of fear, or perhaps from an exaggerated materialism that drives us to pursue our own interests at all costs, even to the detriment of the whole. All conflict and disease come from a sense of separation. All healing comes from our awareness of our oneness and reconciling ourselves and our lives with that truth. William Walker Atkins, author of New Thought and Its Principles, says, "There is but one. God's manifestations apparently innumerable, but in reality one universal oneness. Center and circumference. The rays from the center reach all parts of the circle, high and low, beautiful and hideous, exalted or depraved. All are a part of the one. Separateness is but an illusion." Now, when we live our lives from a deeply grounded awareness of our oneness with everything, with everyone and everything on the planet, we will empower our relationships. We will improve our political, social, and professional environments. We will heal the planet, and we will be a beacon of light for everyone. The moment that we accept individually and collectively that God is all that there is and we are one with it, we will become a liberating force for good in the universe. Now, in a month whose theme is seeking the common good, how can we practically and powerfully use the truth of oneness to do that? Now, I believe that we must first appreciate and experience oneness within ourselves. It's imperative that we take this understanding, this intellectual understanding that we have of oneness, and reflect upon it through our spiritual practices like centering, meditation, visioning, and prayer, in order to be able to move it to a deeper level, in order to be able to move it from our heads to our hearts. By doing this, seeking the common good becomes, as Reverend Dr. David Alexander says, a spiritual practice by which we measure our belief in oneness. Seeking the common good becomes a spiritual practice by which we measure our belief in oneness. We have to really know with our whole being that there is only one thing happening here. One power, one presence, one intelligence that is manifesting itself through and as all things. It is revealing itself as a multiplicity of individualized, diverse expressions. There has to be a radical shift in our consciousness from the consciousness that got us to this place and this time, that got us to where the world appears as it does today, to a consciousness that is deeply grounded in the recognition and awareness that we are fundamentally one interconnected whole. That shift has to occur. For too long, we've been looking at each other and our world through our own lenses, through our lenses of our upbringing, our culture, our races, our religions, our experiences, our perceptions, our biases, and our judgments. The lenses by which we very often see chaos and separation and conflict. In order for us to truly, truly embrace oneness, we have to let go of all of these ideas. We have to return back to a blank slate. Reverend David Alexander says in the Science of Mind magazine that the greatest gift in New Thought teaching is knowing that all of the challenges, issues, and problems we see out there are merely reflections and projections of a sense of separation from Source within ourselves. The work begins right where we are within our own consciousness and in our own belief systems and values. Gary Simmons in The Eye of the Storm tells us that we cannot experience wholeness if we are rooted in separation. So yes, it is not to stand here and deny it. There are things going on in the world right now that when we look out at it, everything within us is screaming, this is not good, this is not right. But if we were to remember that God is all that there is and that oneness is the truth of the universe, could we step back and see the bigger picture through that lens of oneness? Now, I know that it can be very challenging to apply and live the concept of oneness, but God is either all that is happening or nothing at all. It can't be any other way. It's either all that is happening or nothing at all. And I know that this is a radical idea, but I believe that if we were to all actually live by it, we would see some really radical changes, some really radical results. Saying, I am one with God is a start. But how far does that go out into our lives? With whom and what do we extend that truth to? The invitation is to deeply, fully, mindfully, and powerfully extend it out into our families, to our neighbors, to our friends, to our co-workers, to our communities, to our world, and yes, even to our enemies. To see the face of God in everything and everyone. Realizing and implementing oneness into all of our choices and all of our actions is one of the best ways, if not the most important way, to really affect change in the world. It is an act of love, and love is the greatest, most powerful unifying force on the planet. It would behoove us as individuals and as the human race to spiritually mature and to take responsibility for our shared experience from this place of truth that the all is in the one and the one is in the all. The all is in the one, and the one is in the all. This needs to be our basic thinking and our basic understanding. This needs to be the context from which we choose most, if not all, of our choices and all of our actions in all arenas of our lives in order to seek the common good and to create a world that works for everyone. Please repeat after me. Oneness is the underlying truth of the universe. Is the underlying truth of the universe. I am one with all. And so it is. And so it is. Please turn within. Turning within, I feel that presence. I feel that power, that love, that creativity, that joy. I call it God, but it goes by many different names. And no matter the name, it is all one. I know that I am one with it. And because of I am one with it, I know that I am one with everything else on the planet. That each and every manifestation is a divine emanation of the one, a hologram of the universe itself. And just as I know that this is my truth, I know that it is the truth of each and every person here today. Each of us is an individualized, unique expression, manifestation of the one. Here to be a vehicle for which God can experience life as us. And it is from this place of unity that I speak these words about and for each of us today, truly knowing that there is a way that each of us individually and collectively can live our lives from this truth of our oneness. That as we do so, everything shifts. Our relationships are magnificent. Our world is at peace. We treat the planet with respect. We honor all beings of all types, knowing that truly it is the face of God that is looking back at us as we look at any of it, knowing that it is all interconnected as the sunshine and the cloud is to that piece of paper. And so I claim ease and grace for us around wrapping our not only head but our heart around this truth and powerfully bringing it forward into our lives, knowing that as we do so, we touch people in ways that allow them to step powerfully into the truth too. And that one by one, by one by one, we create a world that works for everyone. And I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for my awareness of the law, knowing that it works with mechanical regularity to clothe my words in form. And so I speak them and I release them, letting go and letting God simply be God. And we anchor this prayer for ourselves and for each other simply by saying, and so it is, and so it is. Amen.